Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. More arrests made in multi-million-dollar phishing scam at the National Commercial Bank. Government urges caution following announcement of a 10% tariff on Jamaican exports to the United States. And later in sports, J3A signs partnership ahead of Carifta Championship. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carrie-Ann Simpson. Here are the details. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA continues to make ground in the multi-million-dollar phishing scam at the National Commercial Bank. This as it continues to make arrests in relation to the scam. Details in this report.
We are coming for you. That's a word from MOCA to those involved in the $47.5 million phishing scam at the National Commercial Bank, NCB. To date, MOCA has arrested 14 people involved in the scam. The latest arrests were made on Wednesday and this morning. These suspects are a 25-year-old male of Cassava Peace, Kingston, and a 24-year-old woman of Gregory Park, Portmore in St. Catherine.
This operation this morning demonstrates our continued mission to break the back of this particular crime. In all, I think we've arrested about 14 persons to date, and we expect that these arrests will continue. As is typical whenever we execute these search and arrest warrants, we typically find a number of evidentiary items which we will take into custody for processing. This morning's operation was no different. We have brought in a number of items to process. Those items would include electronic data, may include electronic devices as well, but until the search is conducted, it's difficult to say exactly what we've been able to recover here.
The offences took place between April and June 2022, when members of an organized crime syndicate targeted 16 NCB accounts in a phishing scam and transferred the funds to a number of beneficiaries' accounts. In the meantime, a warning to citizens.
There are about 88,000 instances of fraud and cybercrime reported in 2023, according to the latest Statin report. But at the same time, less than a third of those were reported to the police. We believe that bad things happen when good people do nothing, and so we're encouraging persons to not only stay vigilant in their online activity, but to also report instances of fraud and cybercrime such as these to either the MOCA tip line or to one of our law enforcement partners.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Senior Superintendent of Police Dwight Powell, who has headed the St. Ann Police for the last 4 years, has been recognized for his contribution to the crime-fighting efforts in the parish. The St. Ann Chamber of Commerce recently hosted a farewell dinner for him as he takes on a new mission in the JCF. Amoy Harriet reports.
Senior Superintendent Powell, your leadership in St. Ann has been nothing short of exemplary. Can we put our hands together for it?
President of the St. Ann Chamber of Commerce, Ransford Davidson, at a recent farewell function for Dwight Powell.
The truth is, I'm going to miss St. Ann. I will miss St. Ann.
Mr. Powell's recent promotion as acting assistant commissioner in charge of administration took effect on Wednesday. He served as head of the St. Ann Police since 2021 after over 30 years of service in the force. Under his leadership, major crimes in the parish have significantly decreased.
Since the start of this year, we have seen some 12 murders. The last 2 came over this last weekend. So 12 murders when compared to 22 last year this time. And so that's what the percentage in terms of the reduction. Significant reduction. And so that is something that we pledge as a division that we will continue to do.
A major area still in need of intervention in the parish, he said, is traffic management, but insists the police are still working to remedy the issue. Now, Deputy Superintendent Rohan Elliott is the new commanding officer for the St. Ann Police Division.
We are coming for 19 years now. Very good friend of mine. Almost the same quiet nature as myself. But don't take quiet people for softies, you know. Quiet people are not softies. But they say silent river blood runs deep. So Sir Elliott is not a soft. Maybe more coarse than me.
Amoy Harriet, TVJ News.
The government is this afternoon urging caution following the announcement of a 10% tariff on Jamaican exports to the United States. The announcement was made by U.S. President Donald Trump on what he termed Liberation Day. In a release this morning, Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith says the government is awaiting the requisite technical documentation to ensure accuracy of details and appropriate analysis. She says only then businesses and the wider public will be provided with an update. Calls are growing for more people to understand and support individuals with special needs. Labour Minister Pernell Charles Jr. made the appeal while addressing an autism forum yesterday. Shmela Pullen reports.
Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says despite progress in awareness, many people still don't know how to interact or provide the necessary support for persons with special needs. Mr. Charles says it is critical that society works to bridge this gap.
You don't know what to say, you don't know how to act, and so therefore sometimes you stand off. So it's not even that you don't value, but you yourself don't want to make a mistake. What do I do? We want, through this Ministry of Labour and Social Security, to be the teachers, the ones that create a society that is wise, that is bold, that is inclusive.
His statement comes at a time when forums and discussions about autism and other special needs are becoming increasingly vital to improving social inclusion.
I don't know if you have seen that YouTube of the young man in the helicopter. You saw it, Miss Morris? There's a young man who has autism who went into the helicopter and he flew around the New York skyline. Somebody must have watched this. Nobody watched it? And when he came down, he could recall and just draw it on a wall. Entire thing. It's perfect. Stephen Wilshire.
The forum, which brought together educators, caregivers, and medical professionals, focused on promoting understanding and providing solutions for better care and inclusion of individuals with autism and other disabilities. Mr. Charles encouraged greater efforts in sensitizing the public and creating environments where persons with special needs can thrive and participate fully in society.
There are many persons, teachers, you know what I mean. Many of the students you will interact with who have full capacity, full ability, they can do anything they want. They tell themselves they can't. They say, I can't. And I want to tell you that many of the youngsters that I've interacted with who have a disability are the ones inspiring others who are not laden with any disability but make themselves be shackled to their own thoughts.
Shmela Pullen, TVJ News.
At least 2 PNP councillors could be fined for erecting political signs across various areas in Montego Bay, St. James. Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, says the signs were erected in January.
I never really had a major issue with some of them because of where they were located. Some of them in private locations. But when it really started to get my attention and started to, ask questions of me is when they mounted it on one of our regular public areas for event signs. I mean, that is out of order.
The signs were erected, signs erected in public space.
Usually the consideration is given by the council based on the fact that it is an election and the election has been announced to allow these signs to be mounted without going through the regular process of application. So we don't have a problem with them being mounted. Wait until election is called. And if you want to advertise something politically outside of the election period, then a process has to be followed. You must apply to the local authority.
Mayor Vernon says mounting signs in a public space without a permit from the local authority is illegal.
To remove them before the end of this week, because if they have not done so by Monday, we will mobilize our team, our enforcement team, to remove them from the public space. And then, of course, based on the Litter Act, they will be treated as such, and a bill will be sent to responsible individuals.
Councillor for the Port Morant Division, Dinsdale Smith, is taking the National Works Agency to task over what he says is a lack of information on drainage work currently underway. The work is deemed critical to reduce incidents of flooding. More in this report. Whether light or intense rainfall in Port Morant and Thomas, the troubling drainage problem is usually exposed, and residents are often left fearing for their lives and livelihood. Although work has started to correct the infrastructure, Councillor for the Port Morant Division, Dinsdale Smith, says residents and councillors are left in the dark about the progress.
The water flow that comes into Port Morant is coming from maybe about 3 or 4 different sources upstream, upriver, and the river breaks its banks and the gullies breaks their bank further up outside of the roadway. And so no matter what we do here, the problem will still remain at the source of the water flow, which, to my understanding, has been compromised over the years to where the water overflows its banks and technically get out of control.
Communications Manager at the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, says the agency is currently executing works that are part of the third phase of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, which includes drainage works in Port Morant Square.
We have major drainage features that are on the way in this space. We have had a bit of a challenge with some of the works that we're doing, but we intend to have the activities completed. As a matter of fact, the entire S-ship, we're looking to close it out before the end of the summer of 2025.
He said with more attention being given to address the drains, the agency is going through the legal processes to acquire land that is crucial to mitigating flooding in Port Morant Square.
We have significant drainage work that is contemplated for this Port Morant area. Persons would observe us doing corrective works in some of the areas, especially between Morant Bay and Yallas. We have had to do some base replacement works. We have a little bit more that we are doing. We still have some lines that are showing defects, and those the contractor will be addressing in short order.
In the meantime, Mr. Shaw says a relocation of Jamaica Public Service utility poles has begun.
We have made a good bit of progress in having the poles relocated out of the right-of-way. And so this has really made the process much easier for the contractor to be able to move through some of the communities and be in a position where now persons are actually seeing paving works being done.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. More local stories when we return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. It's now time for the Business Minute.
The Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association says the tariffs imposed by the United States could pose potential challenges in the goods supply chain. JMEA President Sidney Thwaite says he's awaiting further details on whether the tariffs will be across the board on all goods from Jamaica. But he says businesses will have to look for opportunities outside of the U.S. Further afield, China on Thursday urged the United States to immediately cancel its latest tariffs and vowed countermeasures to safeguard its own interests after President Donald Trump declared sweeping levies on all U.S. trading partners around the world. The U.S. move disregards the balance of interest reached in multilateral trade negotiations over the years. Now, China's Commerce Ministry said in a statement that the U.S. move disregards the balance of interest reached in multilateral trade negotiations over the years and the fact that it has long benefited greatly from international trade. Now, Mr. Trump on Wednesday announced China would be hit with a 34% tariff on top of the 20% he previously imposed earlier this year, bringing the total new levies to 54% and close to the 60% figure he had threatened while on the campaign trail. For the Business Minute, I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top stories from around the world.
In the region, the Department of Environment has announced that effective April 1, 2025, the distribution of plastic t-shirt bags will be prohibited across St. Kitts under the new enacted Plastic Waste Reduction Act 2025. Under the Act, businesses that continue this practice may face fines of up to $3,000 for a first offense and up to $15,000 for repeated offenses. Environmental officials are strongly encouraging all business establishments to begin transitioning to more eco-friendly alternatives. Recommended options included paper bags and reusable shopping bags. On the international scene, President Trump's new auto tariffs are officially in effect. It's a 25% tariff on all cars shipped to the United States from other countries. The Trump administration says the goal of the tariffs is to create additional auto jobs by forcing automakers to shift production to America. Mexico, Canada, South Korea, Japan, and Germany will be the countries most affected by these tariffs. The administration also plans to roll out a 25% tariff on auto part imports by May 3rd. And since even domestic vehicles contain imported parts, it will also cost more to build cars in the US. Industry analysts say the tariffs could increase car prices by thousands of dollars. For car buyers, it means fewer cars to choose from and higher prices. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Raquel Porto.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.